Sir, can you tell us something about the series of events or thoughts that led you to the translation of Sri Narayana Guru's works? Also, what made you think that the Guru should be exposed to global recognition?
Too many questions. But, I was a student of a disciple of Narayana Guru. His name was Nataraja Guru. Nataraja Guru was disciple, spiritual successor of Narayana Guru. And I happened to meet him when I was a college student. And I was attracted by the ideas of world citizenship, that we are all citizens of one single world. We belong to the world, and we are all citizens of the world with duties and responsible ways of being a world citizen. So I was studying that. I am still studying that since the last 50 odd years. And I translate books from different languages. I work between 3-4 languages. I work with English, Sanskrit, Malayalam, Tamil, and Kannada. I have translated English or Sanskrit books into Kannada, Malayalam, Kannada books into Malayalam and English, Malayalam books into English and other languages, and therefore sharing what I learned from the wonderful poems of Narayana Guru. And I don't say Sri Narayana Guru, I say Narayana Guru, because this making somebody bigger than life does not help any of us. So Narayana Guru was a simple person who lived in Kerala in the early part of last century. And he showed us how a simple common person can still rise to wisdom and claim to be a guru. So to keep him honored actually is to recognize and address him as a guru instead of Sri Narayana Guru. Also, this name Sri Narayana Guru has been vitiated in Kerala due to very unfortunate circumstances which we shall not go into now. But to me, he is a wonderful teacher who helps me in my daily life to be a better person. And then for writers, it's always great joy when we find something worthy of sharing with others. Therefore, I translate. Have I answered you correctly? All your questions or anything more is there?
Sir, so the Guru insisted that a mirror should be kept in the temple instead of the deity. So he wished that everyone would look inward to seek the God within.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, can you please tell us something more about this metaphor of the mirror?
Very deep question. I'm sure you wrote it out yourself, yes? Or some help?
Sir, I had some help.
I assumed so. But all like diverse religious traditions, like Jesus says, the kingdom is within you, I think, yes? The kingdom of God is within. So, to look inward, to look at ourselves. When you look in the mirror, of course, you only see your reflection. But this reflection cannot see us. We can see the reflection, right? So, Guru has a whole work where he explains the principle of the mirror and how he says God is like a mirror. So, you look at God and you see yourself. Such is the symbolism of the mirror. And Guru did it because on this occasion there was somebody wanted some particular deity to be installed, some other group wanted somebody else to be installed. So Guru said no to both sides and asked them to get a good Belgian mirror. It was very clear instructions. Go to Kochi and buy good Belgian mirror because they are very high quality mirrors. And then this mirror was established. When you get older or more seriously into studying, you can refer to Guru's work on the mirror. It's called the luminous play of the self in this work. Yeah.
The reformations initiated by Sri Narayana Guru made sweeping changes in the Kerala society, and we all are very much aware of that. So, do you think it is time for a new relaunching of Guru's reformations in Kerala today?
First of all, I have to say I have some disagreements because Guru did not initiate reforms as such. I don't see him as a reformer, I see him as a teacher primarily. And when you teach people things that are worth learning, they change. People change. So change has happened. But to call the Guru a reformer would not be. It is like a farmer preparing a field and he has to pull out all the weeds before he can plant something. But what really matters is his role as a planter of seeds rather than a puller out of weeds, I would say. So the social reform part of it, because people believed that they belonged to different castes, that some people were higher, some people were lower, etc. Such kind of falsehood had to be negated before he could teach the simple truth that we all are human beings and therefore equal, not only in the eyes of God, but in each other's eyes. So, this kind of message is always relevant because what happens is, in spite of all gurus, we slide back. Humanity slides back into these ruts that we have been habituated to. And therefore reforms are constantly necessary. It's like a garden which you have to keep tending and pulling out the weeds. And so it's always time for reformers to be active, but we should not wait for some Narayana Guru all the time. We should become this. We, each of us, have this within us. And we should become gurus to each other. This is what Narayana Guru tried to teach. And this is why he claimed to be a guru. He signed his name as Narayana Guru. So, this guruhood of humankind is within each of us, and may Narayana Guru's teachings inspire us to keep reforming ourselves into better human beings and kind beings. And especially these days, our country is going through so much hatred and violence and very sad things, and the world itself is suffering from wars and poverty. And there's a lot of remediable diseases that go on. So let us hope that such wisdom will prevail over the darkness. Yes?
So what is your take on Guru and Gandhi, meaning their association, and how would you further analyze their relationship?
Well, from the recorded conversation, it's very interesting because Guru held that humanity is of one single species, which he defines as caste, one species. Gandhiji felt that there are innate differences in human beings due to their psychological or psychic dispositions, and which is called varna in Sanskrit. Varna is color. But this had nothing to do with caste. It's a kind of psychological type thing which happened once in a long ago, and it's found to be totally untenable according to all our current understanding. Psychological attitudes or dispositions do not make us different from each other biologically or physically or socially. And it should be kept to that. But when Gandhiji visited Guru, they had a pretty long discussion. Interestingly, it was the Maharani of Travancore of those days who was in Varkala at that time, and Gandhiji visited her, and she told the Mahatma to go and visit Narayana Guru. And that's how he came to visit Narayana Guru. But still insisting on his view of human differences rather than seeing how Guru saw it. So Gandhiji pointed out to a mango tree under which they were sitting on the veranda of the ashram in Varkala. And Gandhiji said to the Guru, "See, Guru, don't you see? All these leaves are of different shapes. And similarly, all humans are different. So, Guru's response was that if you chew them, taste these leaves, they all have the same taste. While outwardly, the shape of each leaf is different, they are of the same taste, the essence. So this was the gist of the argument between them. It was very cordial, of course, as both are great men, but quite different from different fields. Gandhiji was actually a politician and, as we all know, freedom fighter. And Guru wasn't. Guru was already free in his mind. And he, of course, he wasn't particularly in favor of the British, or he was not against the British. He was not for the British, but he was not against the British. He also saw that many advantages accrued to people through the education that the English brought, etc. And Guru was fully aware of it. He wanted English schools as well as Sanskrit schools. So he didn't want to miss out on anything. And so I would say Guru had a more holistic approach compared to Gandhi's. And many of our country's present day problems may be traced back to Gandhi's positions on certain things, like what to eat and the sacredness of the cow, etc., which are really dividing our country now. So, let's not get too political, right?
So, the ambience of the ashram nurtures both man and beast. So, as you promote and endorse the Gurukul practice, can you tell us how we can recreate this oneness with nature in our 21st century lives?
Gurukula means the family of the Guru. Guru, the word, comes from two letters, Gu and Ru. Gu stands for darkness. Ru stands for dispelling or removing the darkness. So, how can darkness be removed? With light only, right? Then why not say light? Why say removing darkness instead of saying light? Because this light is a light which is inside us, but it is hidden by different layers of darkness, starting with differentiations based on caste, religion, gender, language, dress. All kinds of darkness covers the light which is within us, which tells us that we are beings of love and grace and But if we have to get to that, we have to remove all this darkness which covers that light. That is really us. That's the core of our being. So, and Guru Kula means family. So it's like Gurukula is the model for Gurukula is natural family. The mother, the father, the elders are teaching us, and the children are learning those ways of living. It's not a theoretical thing that you don't learn it from books, but you learn it through life, living situations. So creating situations where we are open to truth, beauty, goodness, etc. Such universal human values, cultivating that within us, around us, by becoming students of life, to let life be the guru, and we are the disciples or students. We learn from life. And this is something that is, regardless of which century we live in, we are all seeking constantly to better ourselves, to become better expressions of ourselves, and keep at it. And that's how it is possible even now.
Our principal told us that you are not very happy to be addressed as sir. So can you tell us why is that?
See, I can see that already all your questions were dictated by your teachers. Maybe you're not. It is this power structure which should not be there in a real learning situation. It should be one of love. And also, the more formal the means of communication becomes, the less communication happens. So if I'm a sir, and I don't like this word because it reminds me too much of colonial pasts, when there was sir who, whatever, Linlithgow or many sirs. It's a title given by the Queen. And now also we have, our government will give Padma Bhushan, Padma Shri, all these titles now. But it all makes for poorer quality communication between each other. Therefore, I prefer not to be called sir, because I know you would feel very self-conscious if I were to call you ma'am. You call me sir, and I say, yes, ma'am. How would you? So, no, ma'am, thank you.
So the question from my side today is, a cry in wilderness is a phrase uttered by John the Baptist in Bible.
Yes.
He had very few but genuine followers. How can you correlate him with the life of Narayana Guru, and why this particular title was chosen for your translation of works by Narayana Guru? Can you please answer?
If I remember right, it's first, it's Isaiah who, and then Baptist refers to the Old Testament reference to the coming of Jesus. And why did I choose this title for the book? It was not a very conscious process. It was during one of my morning. I sit sometime every morning, just sit without trying to do any work, reading or anything. But book was with the publishers already. And then, and why? Because I think we are still in the wilderness when we think of what the Guru tried to teach and what we have taken from him. So it's more about us than about the Guru, but that the various wildernesses that we find ourselves in, where his cry, his words just become another cry in the wilderness, whereas we could and we should make it something more. So it's a challenge in a sense to people who claim that they are following Guru but have nothing to do with him and actually misuse his words. We see him in Kerala, unfortunately, now just as a leader of some particular caste groups who, and then of course, all Kerala is happy to call him a great social reformer, but nothing has changed. We have not reformed. We have not got any better. We are actually in the same kind of predicament, maybe even worse than when he actually lived among us. Therefore, I thought it was very apt title, and my editor at HarperCollins also thought, well, it's very evocative, he said. But then many so-called devotees of the Guru were angry with me also for how can you leave the Guru in the wilderness? So I said, well, you come out of the wilderness with the Guru. No, Guru can't do anything. We are in the wilderness. We have to come out of that wilderness to see if something is possible. Therefore,
Narayana Guru very poetically taught us one religion, one God, one humanity. But why and unfortunately we are limited into religious existences only. We are losing that message or that philosophy, and man is very much shrank and limited into religions. The beauty of spirituality, the beauty of that message is still there, and we are actually not able to attain it. How would you show a way out?
as I understand Guru, we have to realize ourselves as human beings, that I'm a human being. Without that, you cannot become anything else, be it I'm a Christian or I'm Hindu or I'm Muslim. First, you have to become human. So, and to me, that's what made this man very great, because he said, man, Manushyana, oru jati, oru matam, oru deivam, Manushyana. So, to come to that, why don't we come to that? Because we have not recognized ourselves as humans. We only recognize ourselves as Christians or Hindus, but we are humans. We are Homo sapien. And this word sapien, it comes from wisdom, sapiens. Sapiensis, I think it is. What's the Latin of sapienta? Is wisdom. It's the animal that has wisdom. And wisdom is this, that we are one. And so, I don't know. And I feel very sad that we still are so far from. Because no guru, no religion teaches us to be cruel or to harm each other. It's just that we have not felt true religion. And maybe these labels are keeping us away from true religion, which is understanding the oneness of life, of God, and of our common goal of a kind, peaceful world. The same old message, peace on earth to men of good will. So, if there is no peace, that's because we lack goodwill. So we have to cultivate this. So primarily to identify ourselves as humans, above and beyond various affiliations or conditionings. Like now, how do we get a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim? Because one's parents went to church, and therefore we inherit this without really understanding Christ or any other religion for that matter. We inherit this, we don't question this. And so, if we question deep enough, and education should be to question, keep questioning, critical thinking should be encouraged, taught, and therefore I prefer not to be called sir. I don't like to stand up there and lecture. Like, we get enough of these guys telling us what to do, Want to be more soft a little bit, gentle, so that some children should come to you. That's what Jesus said, let the children come to me. How will children come when we are sitting with a stick all the time? Children are. So, education and schooling are two different things. And schooling is this, where sirs and ma'ams beat some kind of information into them. But actually the word education comes from to draw out, exducere, to bring out. That again goes back to your question about the light within, which is hidden by various kind of darkness. And then we draw out, all the darkness is drawn out, then the light will shine. And this is what we have to do. Yes? Sufficient? Thank you. Thank you.
This is quite in line with the previous question. How do we come to terms with the multiple identities thrust on us by the 21st century world?
I think primarily our identity should be to what we basically are, which is humans. Because how can you be anything else if you don't recognize yourself for what you are? Like Narayana Guru used this very telling example. He says a dog sees another dog and knows it to be of its own kind. But humans who claim to be better than animals of that sort have to ask, from what religion are you, from what caste are you, whatever, which a dog just by smelling or seeing knows. A cow knows another cow just by sight. We don't. And we still pretend that we are greater than dogs and cows, and we know so much more. So, real education which will bring the light out from us, as opposed to schooling which is putting lots of information. I'm not saying it's not needed, it's needed, but more than that, what we need is to bring out what is in us. And for example, nowadays schools, like many universities, are closing down all humanities. Only IT is needed. Only IT, computer science, computer applications, programming. Why? Who says only that is needed? It is. So it's just a lack of understanding of real nature of things that makes us think that. When I was a student long ago, everyone's big dream was to become a doctor or an engineer. That was the big thing those days. And now it's all to become IT professionals. But it doesn't matter what you become. You have to be happy and kind. And if you are happy, you will be kind. But if you are unhappy, you cannot be kind. So, something that makes us happy and kind, we have to identify that. And our studies, our schools should help each child to find the best way she can find the light within herself. I'm not sure I answered you fully, but you can ask me still something.
In this today's century, we value riches or things, wealth, as when we acquire that, we are considered successful. But when we see gurus or people that are so wise, they are in very simple clothes and in a minimalistic way. So did you in your life have a point where you also considered such wealth as successful, or how was your transformation into minimalistic way of life? I'm curious about that.
I cannot say that my life is very minimalistic, but I've lived much more with much less than I do now. But, plain living and high thinking has been always held as models for us, and also very simple common sense. You can see that happiness has nothing to do with the amount of wealth. And people, of course, get confused, and of course, wealth is necessary to, as a means of exchange and all that. But the real wealth is oneself. If we what is it? What profiteth it a man to gain the whole world and lose himself? So we have to see that we do not lose ourselves, our soul. Soul is too abstract for me, therefore I call it myself. So I don't want to lose myself. And I also remember a line from Whitman, Walt Whitman, who was an American poet. He said, I seek no fortune, I am my fortune. I am my fortune. So may you all be so fortunate that more than wealth, you will seek your own fortune, and may you be.
My question too is very simple. So you earlier mentioned that education is different from schooling. So how do you think that the so-called schooling can adapt more of education?
Well, both sides should first of all realize that education is not all filling up your head with equations and formulae and all that, but it's to help you bring the best out of you. So I think it was Mark Twain who said, I never let schooling interfere with my education. So you shouldn't let schooling interfere with your education. You should educate yourself. And schooling, of course, we can't help. I won't tell you to drop out and all that, but don't let it interfere with your learning process. It should be eternal students. That's what education means. I'm still a student. That's why I don't want to be called sir and all that, because then I might think, oh, now I have finished learning, and then you get old and grumpy and sick and all that. But if you keep learning, life is interesting. You look for beauty, look for compassion, kindness, and observe nature. Like that, you can keep educating yourself, not just schooling. And of course, should read, should question, should listen to experience of others too. All that will help.
Like, I always wanted to ask this question. Like, whenever Father conducted such sessions, I always want to ask one. Like, when I read newspapers, which I do really not so often, but like when I do that, I usually read Hindu newspaper. And in the side column, sometimes I see like in KOZHIKODE, this person abused like this girl or something. And like that, I usually, like in one newspaper reading itself, I see around like 3 or 4 at one time itself. And I don't know, like after every time I somehow get so sad and heartbroken after that. So, we are living in this world, like we say that we are modern humans, like even the 21st century and all. But how can we still do these things to other people? And what do you think this reason is for the society to be like this, even after such times?
I would advise you, I don't read newspapers. It depresses me. I really get depressed when I read the paper. I used to read the newspapers, especially the Hindu and all that. But I don't read newspapers, and I actually sleep better. But I also think this kind of abuse and all that was always going on somewhere or other. Only now with the availability of information, easy information, we come to hear of more of such things. I think, especially in our land, I think there has always been abuse of children. Only now we are more aware of it, and what can be done. Of course, not reading newspapers is not the solution to this. The solution only will come when we become full human beings. But also our society is very pretentious, and since we are all old enough to talk about such things, why? So girls are abused. Well, one is that we have no proper, in that sense, there is no education which addresses human condition. I even came to know that last year there was a high school biology textbook not Kerala, luckily, but somewhere in India, where the human body, after the abdomen, then comes thighs. After your stomach, then your thighs. So what about your reproductive organs? Nothing. Textbook is silent about it. So it's like wishing it away. But that's not possible. It's not. But why is it not taught? Because we are prudish. We have some kind of prudery which is left over from, I don't know when we didn't have so much modern knowledge of human physiology and all that. So there is total perverted understanding or ideas, because everything is hidden, and even these boys, girls, I don't know if you all sit. I think at least here you are sitting, boys and girls together, and I'm very happy to see that. Otherwise, in my time, and all girls, boys. So pretentious, So all this kind of thing leads to all that. And only way we can overcome all this is through correct education. That's where education should mean something, talk about these things, address these things instead of pretending that it does not exist. We should be more honest to ourselves and to each other. And we are all born of sex. No. Parents made love, we were born from that. It's a very human, natural thing. But then how to keep it as something holy, sacred, natural. So it won't happen by pretending it is not there. It will happen when we give it proper understanding, proper light, correct interactions, etc. Should make friends with the boys, help them understand girls better. Like that. Schools can do lots. I think, I hope. My school didn't. But those days, schooling was very different. We were caned and all that. And not even on the hands, on your butt and all. Really, you won't believe because. So we have progressed, at least nobody is caning you, like fathers are here. And my headmaster would never be seen without a cane. So we are progressing. Just it will take another 50 years or something. So we can wait. Things will get better.